It's Tuesday, July 25. In the headlines, big plans for tourism in St. Thomas. In business news, Jamaica's trade deficit declined. Regionally, Bahamas to join Interparliamentary Union. Internationally, China replaces Foreign Minister Jin Gang from office. And in sports, Jamaica prepares for the Under-15 Boys CONCACAF Championship. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Dancehall artist Kiprich, whose given name is Marlon Plunkett, has created a variety of commemorative tokens aimed at honoring the memory of 8-year-old Daniel Rowe. The entertainer presented the tokens to the Rowes at the repast held at the family's home in Portmore, St. Catherine. Danielle, a grade 2 student at Brayton Primary in Portmore, St. Catherine, was left for dead on Roosevelt Avenue in St. Andrew after she was found with her throat slashed. She died in hospital 2 days later after she was brutally attacked on June 8. He noted that despite the tragic circumstance under which the 8-year-old died, honoring the youngster is a healthy way to grieve and ultimately help in the healing process. Former cricketer Wavell Hines is playing the field as a Deputy General Secretary of the People's National Party. He was selected on Sunday during a meeting of the National Executive Council at the University of the West Indies, Mona. Mr. Hines lost his bid last month to represent the party in the St. Anne Southeastern constituency. Now, as General Secretary, Mr. Hines has been given the responsibility for outreach and organizing. The 127-year-old Bull Bay Police Station has been handed over to the China Harbour Engineering Company. CHEC has begun the demolition process by disconnecting services, removing roofing, etc. However, communications manager for the National Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, says the completion of the process will be delayed.
We may have a slight delay as the Jamaica National Heritage Trust has stepped forward to indicate that there are some aspects of this building that they would want to have preserved. So we have to now proceed in line with the request of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. And so the process to demolish the building is likely to take a little more time, but certainly it will be taken down because it is directly in the path of the new embankment on which the new bit of road is going to be built.
According to Mr. Shaw, sections of the highway is already open to vehicular traffic. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says plans are in place to restore the Bath community in St. Thomas to its glory days. The minister made the declaration during a recent tour of the parish. He took a trek in the Bath community along the recently rehabilitated main road. Minister Bartlett says St. Thomas is the next frontier for tourism development in Jamaica. For your information, Bath boasts the second oldest botanical gardens in the Western Hemisphere, which was established in 1779 by the government of Jamaica. The Bath Fountain, or mineral spring, discovered by a runaway slave in 1695, was acquired and developed by the government in later years. The water is drawn from both hot and cold springs, and its high mineral content, sulfur and lime, is said to be effective in the treatment of skin diseases, gout and rheumatism. Are you consuming too much salt? Everyone is being urged to reduce salt in their diet. Too much salt or sodium in the diet can lead to symptoms of dehydration, high blood pressure, heart disease and stroke. We hear more about salt and its effect on you in this week's Living Healthy report. Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
According to data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin, Jamaica's trade deficit saw a marginal reduction at the end of March this year, driven mainly by higher export earnings. For January to March 2023, Statin says the difference between what is earned from export and what was spent on imports was $1.37 billion. That's compared to $1.45 billion for the similar period last year. In the 3 months, the country spent $1.9 billion on goods coming in as against $1.79 billion last year. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Monday, July 24, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.26. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $118.19. The pound sterling traded for $197.81, and the euro sold for $173.90. In GSE trading, the GSE index advanced by 1,479 points. The junior market index declined by 11 points. The combined market index advanced by 1,279 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 2,921 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 107 stocks, of which 46 advanced, 43 declined, and 18 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and First Rock Real Estate Investments Limited. The overall volume leaders were Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 6 million units, JMMB Group Limited 7.35 cumulative redeemable preference shares, and Carreras Limited with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, Calypso Macro Index Fund posted 59 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, 0 securities traded. In regional business, in Trinidad and Tobago, the legacy energy system in the electricity industry are no longer sustainable, and the time has come to take decisive action to bring about transformative change. Mahalia Joseph Wharton has more on this statement.
When it comes to developing sustainable energy systems, several critical areas must be prioritized. Head of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at UWI St. Augustine, Professor of Power Systems and Sustainable Energy, Sanjay Bahadur Singh, listed these areas as he stressed how important it is that the transition takes place.
And it is therefore very wise to consider the role of liquefied natural gas facilitating this transition and green hydrogen in the future. By embracing these low-carbon resources with smart design, we can reduce our reliance. Energy storage technologies also play a crucial role in this transition.
Minister of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez said the government is fully cognizant of the importance of renewable energy as envisioned in the net zero pathway and is fully committed to the development of the country's renewable resource.
Over the years, the Commission's research has included solar PV pilot projects at TNTech Mount Hope, the University of Trinidad and Tobago O'Meara campus, a TNTech PowerGen hybrid solar and wind system at the Islamic Children's Home in Gasparillo, and wind power testing at Ministers Bay and Flagstaff in Tobago.
General Manager of TNTech, Curvis Francois, said the nation's declining natural gas reserves, coupled with the requirement to reduce our carbon footprint, has hastened the Commission's transition from fossil fuels to an energy mix involving renewable energy.
This, along with other national renewable energy initiatives, will favorably impact our energy security and energy sustainability goals. The Commission is also implementing smart grid technologies to improve system reliability. We have already installed dozens of automatic network devices that work synergistically to reduce the extent and duration of outages.
The CARILEC 2023 Engineering and Procurement Conference and Exhibition continues at the Hyatt Regency Hotel to July 27th. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TDT News.
In international business, the Dow led Wall Street higher, notching its longest winning streak in 6 years as investors bet on sectors beyond technology in a week filled with earnings report and a Federal Reserve meeting.
Wall Street's main indexes ended higher on Monday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average notching its longest winning streak in 6 years, in a week filled with big tech earnings and a Federal Reserve meeting. The Dow ended 0.5% higher, its 11th straight day of gains. The S&P 500 rose 0.4%, and the Nasdaq eked out nearly 0.2%. The tech-heavy index lost steam during the session as investors bet on sectors beyond technology.
I think being diversified, nimble, and a bit cautious at this point are really prudent.
Timothy Chubb, Chief Investment Officer at Gerard, a Univest wealth division, said that after the Nasdaq's 34% rally this year, it might pay to be more cautious ahead of earnings reports from tech heavyweights Microsoft, Alphabet, and Meta Platforms later this week.
We've had an enormous start to the year. The first half rally has been pretty incredible for mega cap tech earnings. And it's not that we expect necessarily anyone in particular to, start to falter, some of the business momentum that they've had. But overall, looking at all of the performance year to date, really coming from multiple expansion as opposed to earnings growth, it really has us concerned. And, as much as we're optimistic about tech and long-term opportunities with generative AI and a lot of other, knock-on effects associated with productivity and also, growth levers, and especially in the semi space, I think it's important to take some money off the table.
As for individual movers, Tesla outperformed its mega-cap rivals, rising 3.5%. After a source told Reuters the EV maker is set to meet India's commerce minister this month to discuss plans to build a factory in India to produce what the company has described as an all-new $24,000 car. Shares of Chevron gained almost 2% after the oil giant posted upbeat preliminary quarterly earnings over the weekend. And shares of meme stock AMC Entertainment jumped nearly 33% after a judge blocked the theater chain's stock conversion plan that risked diluting retail investors' holdings in the company.
In market data for oil prices were steady, hovering near 3-month highs as signs of tighter supplies and pledges by Chinese authority to shore up the world's second biggest economy lifted sentiment, while weaker Western economic data weighed. Brent futures were unchanged at $82.74 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude was up 1 cent at $78.75. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Barbadian Prime Minister Mia Mottley believes that there needs to be a return to the widespread screening of children for auditory, speech, and visual challenges in Barbados. She is convinced the use of technology can make the process easier for the medical personnel who will be involved.
We had a program going, and if I could turn back the hands of the clock, is the one thing. 2 programs that were stopped since I was Minister of Education. And it hurts me to the core, across both parties. One was the understanding that every child between the ages, at the age of 3 and at the age of 5, ought to be tested for hearing, speech, and sight. There are too many children who we may not realize have some kind of impediment, disability, may not even be as large as that, but it affects their capacity to learn. If you cannot read, you could as well not be emancipated. And this is not a case like 30, 40, 50 years ago, where people genuinely may have wanted to go to school but were denied the opportunity for all kinds of reasons. Lack of access to schools, lack of capacity of families to be able to support them being able to go, all kinds of reasons. For the most part, everywhere in this region, education is delivered free at the primary, and for the most part at the secondary level, even if there's still a few countries that have capacity issues at the secondary level.
It's official. August 11 has been declared as World Steel Pan Day. This as the United Nations adopted a draft resolution yesterday at the 92nd plenary meeting for it to be annually observed on the UN's calendar. TTT's Mahalia Joseph Wharton has more.
The sweet sounds of the steel pan can be enjoyed in any setting, but the steel pan represents more than just its musical versatility, according to the Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, Randall Mitchell.
In fact, it is emblematic of artistic excellence, community empowerment, endurance, self-determination, community, culture, heritage and identity, and not least of all, national pride. Not surprisingly, the rhythmic tones and dance-enticing energy of steel pan music saw it adopted and replicated throughout the Caribbean, making it a common offering at tourist resorts and even at most remote getaways in the Caribbean.
He said the steel pan industry is far-reaching and is heavily dependent on the integration of a variety of sectors such as tourism, culture, trade and education.
Steel bands have gained prominence in more than 40 states in almost every corner of the globe, with steel band competitions similar to Panorama now occurring in many countries across North America, Europe, and of course, the Caribbean.
PAN's governing body, Pan Trinbago, has been working since 2019 to have August 11th declared World Steel Pan Day. In September of 2022, Cabinet approved the approach to the United Nations for World Steel Pan Day to be placed on the United Nations calendar of World International Days. August is celebrated as Steel Pan Month in commemoration of the steel pan being declared Trinidad and Tobago's national instrument. Pan Trinbago has scheduled a parade through the streets for Friday, August 11th, 2023, the first observance of World Steel Pan Day. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
Deepening democracy and security, among other issues, are topics being discussed by parliamentarians around the world. And for that reason, Bahamian parliamentarians debated a resolution to join the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Sasha Lightburn explains.
Strengthening Parliament, that's the overall goal of the resolution on the Inter-Parliamentary Union, or IPU. The IPU is the global organization of national parliaments. Its primary purpose is to promote democratic governance, accountability, and cooperation among its members. The union has several objectives. Moving debate on the resolution was State Minister for the Public Service, Pia Glover Rowe.
The first objective is to build effective parliaments through empowering parliaments and parliamentarians to operate freely. The second objective is to promote inclusive and representative parliaments, which includes a major focus on youth involvement as well as gender equality. The third objective is to support resilient and innovative parliaments through the adoption of new technologies.
In agreement with the resolution was Opposition Leader Michael Pintard, who applauded the efforts of the Public Service State Minister.
That we would be able to listen to, observe, and take on board best practices that exist in other jurisdictions and not always best practices that have been created by governments themselves, but by innovative leaders, parliamentarians, who may even be in opposition.
Now, Pintard says it's always good when legislation seeks to deepen democracy.
We know that one part of their agenda has been to ensure that they deepen democracy. And in order for us to deepen democracy, there is a need for transparency. All administrations in the Bahamas are well served when we are open about the things that we do on behalf of the Bahamian people.
The resolution was passed this afternoon. The House of Assembly will meet again on Wednesday. Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
In international news, the Chinese government has removed Xi Gang from the post of foreign minister and replaced him with his predecessor, Wang Yi, according to state media.
Speculation had been mounting. Qin Gang had not been seen for at least 4 weeks at a time of intense diplomatic activity for China. He was last seen in public meeting with Vietnam's foreign minister in June. But since then, he had missed a number of high-level visits by U.S. officials at a time when Beijing is trying to stabilize ties with Washington. He also missed earlier this month an ASEAN foreign ministers meeting, and the reason given for him not participating at the time was ill health. Now, this decision or announcement of Qin Gang's removal was given after a meeting by China's National People's Congress Standing Committee on Tuesday. It was decided that he would be replaced by actually his predecessor, Wang Yi. Now, this is an enormous shock. Qin Gang's rise in the Communist Party had been rapid and meteoric. At the age of 57, he was one of the youngest officials ever to be named foreign minister, a post he only held, by the way, for 7 months. He was named foreign minister in December, and before that, he was China's ambassador to the United States for 2 years. And previously, he was a foreign ministry spokesperson and actually one of the original so-called wolf warriors, known for his very assertive diplomatic style. And another reason this is such a shock is that Qin Gang was known for being a close and trusted ally of President Xi Jinping, and this closeness was really seen to have boosted his career. Qin Gang managed to achieve in years what would have taken other officials decades. Now, we don't know any exact reason for his removal, but I do have to mention that while Qin Gang has been removed from his post as foreign minister, he still retains another Communist Party title of state councillor, which is arguably more senior. So this is leading analysts to say it could be that he hasn't fallen completely out of favor, and it could be that there is something else to this.
In sports, the national under-15 boys football team is in the midst of preparation to participate in the upcoming CONCACAF Championship, which is scheduled for the August 6th to 13th in the Dominican Republic. We have more from TTT Live.
It was a highly defensive affair at the Manny Ramjohn Stadium in Marabella, with Trinidad and Tobago looking solid but rarely threatened in the final third of the pitch in the first half. So tough was the defense, referee Jassy McDonald had to dip into his pocket at times. Jamaica came close on the resulting free kick, but goalkeeper Michael Clement kept track as the headed attempt flashed wide. Clement had his eye on what seemed to be a defensive clearance, but it turned out to be the opening goal as it floated above him and into the net in the 38th minute. Owen Jump, the scorer. 1-0 Jamaica, the score at the half. Second half, Sean Cooper's team continued to be solid defensively, but also showed more purpose going forward. TNT's persistence paid off. Jonathan Mason with a burst of speed through the middle of the park to catch the Jamaicans off guard, and he fires on goal. Justin Murray got his glove to the attempt to make the initial save, but Akil Vespri came in at the far post to finish and make it 1-1 in the 80th minute. That's how it would end. Trinidad and Tobago captain Caden Trestriel pointed out the high points for his team in their first international encounter.
From the patterns we've used in training, I think we've done well to spread the play, combinations are used well. I think in the second game, mostly we can improve on just being a bit more direct, attacking them a bit more, being a bit more confident in our ability.
The game has come at a crucial time in the team's preparation.
But I think it's given us, one, a great experience, and two, more of a confidence booster going into the second game. We could know we could be the better team and come out on top.
That second game will be a closed-door affair on Tuesday at the Manny Ramjohn Stadium. Wayne Cunningham, TTT Sport.
Now, Sean Cooper recently took charge of the national under-15 footballers, and he was pleased with the defensive effort versus the Jamaicans.
It was the first taste of international action for the national under-15 squad, preparing for the CONCACAF Championship, and coach Sean Cooper was guardedly pleased following the 1-1 draw with Jamaica.
I think our defensive organization was pretty much spot on. What we wanted to do is keep shape. This is the first phase, keeping shape, keeping us in the game. We received our unfortunate goal, but you saw that besides that attempt, that clearance that went in the goal, other than that, the Jamaicans they didn't have a sniff on our goal because we were properly well organized.
Coopers pointed out areas of concern.
We have some pace on the wings and up front. I think we still need to be a little more solid in the middle of the field. But in saying so, we had 2 starters out today, the captain Seth Hadig and Kosi Fonset. Both of them are normally starters on the team. So I think what the other guys did, they did a pretty good job in organizing and keeping the team solid. So we're looking forward for the other game on Tuesday.
All in all, it was a positive showing for the young team, and with some key players set to return, Tuesday's second match could prove interesting.
Yeah, goalkeeper had a lot more saving to do. We had more corners than them, so I think all in all we had a very decent game. Good showing for first game.
The Jamaican head coach is also looking forward to the return encounter.
The field was a little bit harder than what we are used to, so that kind of impacted how efficiently we could have managed to keep the ball and create some scoring opportunities. But overall, I thought it was a very good game. Good spirit from the Trinidad and Tobago team as well. And now we turn our attention to the another game on Tuesday.
Wayne Cunningham, TTT Sport.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thank you so much for watching.